Welcome back to Darkness and Lore. Today we're counting down the top 10 mythical creatures in Norse mythology. From gigantic dragons to short-statured blacksmiths, we're in for an incredible ride through the icy and brutal mythos of the early Nordic people. Number 10. Elves. Beginning at number 10, elves were seen as semi-divine creatures who, though not as important or strong as the gods, were superior to humans. They were said to possess magical and supernatural powers. They lived in the realm of Alfheim, translating in Old Norse to the land of the elves or Elfsholm, a bright heaven-like place. Tall in stature, pale and ethereal looking, these elves have inspired countless moments in Western culture. In Norse mythology, there are two distinct races of elf, the light elves known as Lisalfar and the dark elves or Dokalfar. Morally righteous and radiant creatures, light elves are said to be fairer than the sun to look at, and they had magic that was able to influence love, crops, and health. The dark elves or Dokalfar are different to the light elves or Lisalfar in both behavior and looks. In contrast to their fairer cousins, they hate the sunlight and they dwell in hidden underground domains deep in the earth. Number 9. Ratatoskr. Our next mythical creature from Norse mythology is a mischievous, slanderous squirrel known as Ratatoskr, one of the most fun mythical creatures from Norse legend. In Norse mythology, reality is made up of 9 distinct realms, one being the aforementioned Alfheim, and they are all connected by a cosmic ash tree called Yggdrasil, or the World Tree. Beneath this tree is an enormous dragon known as Nidhogg who gnaws at the roots at the bottom, causing universal decay. At the very top of the tree, a giant eagle is perched. And somewhere, scurrying along the trunk of the World Tree, is the gossipy squirrel, Ratatoskr. It is said that he runs from the top of the tree to the very bottom and back again, trading insults from the serpent at the bottom and the eagle at the top. Although we might find the image of a gossipy little squirrel quite funny and frivolous, the Norse took the tale of Ratatoskr more seriously. He is said to have been of high status, stirring the feud between Nidhogg and the eagle. Some have even proposed the idea that Ratatoskr sought the end of the world and used his gossip as a way of destroying the World Tree by making the dragon gnaw harder and the eagle throw down branches from the top. Number 8. Fafnir. Fafnir is our next mythical creature, a giant dragon who was actually born a dwarf, the son of the king and sorcerer Hreidmar, and had 2 brothers, Regin and Otter. When Loki the trickster god accidentally kills Fafnir's brother, Otter, the brothers and their father demand a ransom as compensation for Otter's death. Hreidmar is given gold and Andvaranat, a golden ring that the maker Andvari cursed to bring destruction and misfortune upon those that own it. Like the Lord of the Rings trilogy that was inspired by this tale, Fafnir becomes envious of his father, Hreidmar's loot, and one day decides to kill him for it. The curse of the gold and the ring causes Fafnir to become consumed with greed, and so he transforms into a huge poisonous dragon to protect his stolen hoard of treasure. As the curse is now passed to the new owner of the gold, the dragon Fafnir, his misfortune is soon to come. His other brother, Regin, seeks to own the ring and the gold, and knows he is not powerful enough to defeat the dragon. So he turns to the powerful hero, Sigurd, for help. Sigurd manages to track Fafnir down and fights with the dragon, narrowly avoiding Fafnir's poisonous breath. He manages to overcome Fafnir by digging a pit to hide in, and when the dragon passes overhead, he stabs him in Fafnir's underbelly. Number 7. Dwarves. Next, another mythical creature that has influenced countless stories, the dwarf, also known as Dvargr in Old Norse. In the world of Norse mythology, dwarves were often of short stature, usually seen as ugly, bearded creatures. They have dark skin, and similarly to the dark elf, they live deep underground, in a place known as Nidavellir or Svartalheim. Nidavellir, the realm of the dwarves, is a labyrinth and underworld of tunnels, mines, and forges. This industrial homeland signifies the dwarves' main occupation in Norse mythology. They were seen as a race of highly skilled craftsmen and blacksmiths. One of the most famous tales regarding dwarves in Norse mythology is that of how Thor's great hammer, Mjolnir, was created. The mischief god, Loki, was in need of pacifying Thor's anger after he cut Thor's wife's beautiful hair off. So he sought the dwarves' help in crafting Thor's wife's new hair, more beautiful than before. The 3 dwarves there forged her new hair, and alongside that a new ship and a deadly spear. Loki, always stirring up mischief, provoked 2 more dwarves by undermining their craftsmanship, prompting them to create 3 new gifts. Loki, causing even more trouble, turned into a fly biting at the eyes of one of the dwarves so that he couldn't see his work. Fortunately, the dwarves were so skilled that they created the gifts anyway, one of them being the great Mjolnir, Thor's mighty hammer. Number 6. The Kraken. Next, the tale of the mighty sea monster, the Kraken, originated from Norse folklore. It is said to be the largest creature to haunt the depths of the ocean. In Norse mythology, the Kraken is believed to dwell in the cold and tumultuous North Atlantic waters, specifically between Norway and Iceland. It would appear suddenly, from the dark deep of the icy waters. It would devour whole ships and their crews, dragging them to their demise beneath the waves. Some believe that sightings of real-life marine animals, like the colossal squid, by early Viking explorers, inspired the myth of the Kraken. The Kraken's description varies from one tale to another, but its enormous size and the entangling power of its tentacles remain consistent. Descriptions on the rest of its body do vary, perhaps because most who came across it met a watery death. It is most commonly said to resemble a giant octopus miles wide, which used its tentacles to grab onto a ship and pull it down. Number 5. Valkyries. The Valkyries were important and supernatural female figures. Their name in Old Norse means the chooser of the slain. Depicted as incredibly beautiful maidens with pale skin and flowing hair, they dressed in suits of battle armor with Viking helmets and shields, sometimes with cloaks made from swan skin around them that give them the ability to fly. Their job in Norse mythology is to ride in a group to the remains of a battlefield, collecting the souls of brave soldiers who died in battle. They would then escort them to one of two places. One half would go to Odin's hall in Asgard, called Valhalla, where they would hunt every day and drink and feast upon their spoils in the evening. The other half would go to the fertility and war goddess Freya's domain, Folkvangr, a pleasant meadow-like realm, though it is not known how the Valkyries would choose where the souls were sent. One of the most famous Valkyrie in Norse mythology was known as Brunhild, a queen-like figure that can be compared to the Greek Amazon queen Hippolyta. In the stories regarding Brunhild, she refuses to marry but eventually falls in love with Sigurd, the warrior who killed Fafnir. She becomes enraged with Sigurd when he spurns her and tricks her into marrying someone else, and all the stories end up with him dying, usually by her arranging Sigurd's murder. Number 4. Giants. In Norse mythology, giants are a little different than what we think of them today. Rather than just being extremely tall human-like creatures, the giants or jotunn in Old Norse were a race of supernatural beings that were often at odds with the Aesir, the main pantheon of gods in Norse myths, like Odin and Thor. Some jotunn were huge, monstrous creatures like the giant Hymir, who catches whales on his fishing rod. But others were human-sized and more noted for their intelligence or cunning, like Loki, who was a jotunn himself. The jotunn were often described as frost giants, or Rimthursar, either living in Jotunheim, aka the world of the giants, or in the case of Ymir in Niflheim, a land of cold desolation. However, there was also a realm known as Muspelheim, a volcanic land of burning hot fire and flames where the race of jotunn, known as the fire giants, resided. The most famous of these fire giants was Surtur, who it is said will go to battle in the eventual apocalypse, known as Ragnarok. It is foretold that Surtur will carry his infamous flaming sword and kill many of the Aesir, including the god Freyr. Number 3. The Draugr. The Draugr are Norse myth's version of a zombie, malevolent and vengeful undead creatures that roam the realm of the living. They are often depicted as corpse-like, with a ghastly appearance and superhuman strength. They live in their burial grounds, but leave their graves to haunt humans. One example of the fearsome might of a Draugr is during the saga of Grettir the Strong, where Grettir encounters various supernatural trials, including a fierce battle with the resurrected Draugr Glam, who grew so immense that his head reached the rafters of the farmhouse where Grettir was residing. In this saga, it was said that Glam the Draugr was so powerful that people fainted at the sight of him. Grettir himself was so powerful that before trying to kill the Draugr Glam, he beat 12 berserkers at once and a giant cave bear, yet he struggled against the mighty Draugr. Eventually, Grettir overcame Glam, but before he could kill him, as his final act, Glam the Draugr put a curse upon Grettir. Number 2. Fenrir. Fenrir is one of the most iconic symbols in Norse mythology. He was a huge mighty wolf and the son of Loki and the giantess Angerboda, also known as the mother of monsters. Fenrir was the father of wolves, and as he grew up he became so powerful and evil a being that the gods were scared of him and what he might one day do. So the Aesir gods devised a plan to subdue and chain Fenrir up so they can safely watch over him. They lure the arrogant Fenrir in by saying it is a test of his strength, but he easily breaks out of the metal chains they use. So the gods go back to the drawing board, and again he breaks out of the even stronger chains a second time. For the third attempt, they enlist dwarves to make a shackle known as Gleipnir, and make it from 6 sources that they take so much of, they no longer exist in nature. These things are the sound of a cat's feet, the beards of women, the roots of mountains, the sinews of bears, the breath of fish, and the spit of birds. Fortunately, this is strong enough to subdue Fenrir for the time being. However, it is foretold that during Ragnarok, the impending final battle of the gods and the end of the world, that Fenrir will break free from his chains and devour everything in his path, and eventually kill Odin, the king of the gods. Number 1. Jormungandr. Our final and most important mythical creature in all of Norse mythology is another of Loki's children, Jormungandr the world serpent. No ordinary snake, this massive serpent's immense size is said to be beyond human comprehension, and its existence is intertwined with the fate of the cosmos itself. According to the legends, the gods also feared the power of this son of Loki as well. But unlike Fenrir, they greatly underestimated him. They threw him in the world sea shortly after his birth to subdue him and abate their fear, without keeping watch over him. However, the serpent grew to such an immeasurable size that he eventually encircled the entire earth. During Ragnarok, the skies will supposedly darken and the world will grow cold in an eternal winter, culminating in the final battle between the Aesir gods and the Jotunn giants. Jormungandr, being Loki's son, is on the side of the Jotunn. According to Norse mythology, he will battle the mighty Thor and eventually be killed by him. But this is not a victory for the Aesir gods, Thor. The strongest of the gods will be affected by Jormungandr's venom and die himself shortly after. Norse mythology is a fatalistic mythos, believing that the end of the world is predetermined. Mythical creatures are integral to these stories. Don't forget to check out our Greek and Chinese mythical monster videos. See you again at Darkness and Lore.